this take is one that's going to have some names that we don't often talk about anymore. And one name is obviously Russell Westbrook. The other name is Derrick Rose. And the third name I'm going to add to this list is John Wall. And it's funny, I guess, how sports is such a short memory. I was looking at the list here when I was going to sort of bring up this topic and sort of raise it with you. That D Rose won the MVP only in 2011,
Yep.
and that wasn't really that long ago. And we're talking obviously about D Rose and youngest one. He was the youngest MVP winner ever, and obviously Westbrook has his MVP too. John Wall was the first pick in the draft, and these guards, besides Westbrook, obviously, who's still floating around, but we're saying this is his final years, assuming he even gets years. Okay, there's probably question marks whether he'll probably will get one more contract somewhere, maybe a 1 year contract somewhere, but there's probably not much left of Russell Westbrook. And I guess what I'm trying to frame here is that these sort of NBA careers that are cut short by injury situations and just circumstances that often aren't in a player's control are so critical to how we remember them. And I think it's something that we probably should take on board. You know, maybe I'm a bit older than you, obviously, that we should really cherish every single Ja Morant dunk. Yeah, every time he tries to leap over a defender, every time Aaron Gordon tries to throw it down over that guy just trying to stand in front of him, every Anthony Edwards highlight reel, because these players are injury away from being forgotten. And I think I don't know. Like I said to you before we hit record here, I wasn't sure exactly how we want to frame this take, but I think John Wall's probably out of the league. I don't see him getting another contract, and I think D Rose. I don't know whether he's going to come back next year. I don't know whether someone's going to give him another contract either. And you know, I know. Obviously, younger players are probably going. Sorry, younger fans are probably going, "Who's D Rose?" And that's probably the point. D Rose was great, but he then was forgotten.
I think the two people you're mentioning are ball dominant, small point guards that rely on athleticism to score and they can't actually shoot. And that is potentially a little bit of an evolution of the game, steering them out of the league as well. So Westbrook has really fell in between that kind of tweener of he can't shoot very well, but he still puts up solid numbers and he's still athletic. And his health isn't actually a concern at this point of his career either. So you could see him staying on a team. But perhaps the bigger take out of this is that maybe what we want out of our point guards, that little era of really athletic, non-shooting point guards, is incredibly fragile. And that window is actually reserved for like the 20 to 25 year olds. And then if they can't figure out how to shoot, then they are just an injury away from it all falling apart. Or they are, depending on how much usage, that as well. Ja Morant shows some flashes of shooting, but you could also say, yes, with the wrong injury, it never really comes back together, and the entire basis of this game is different. So there is an appreciation for these young guys, but there is also that fragility of, it is an injury away. And not everyone pulls a KD where they tear an Achilles and then come back and end up being just as good. And that might be a testament to his workload, but you could also make a case and say it's a testament to his skill set because he is a predominant shooter. And, you looked at Kobe Bryant, Michael Jordan, even LeBron, all keeping their careers relevant by the end of it with that ability to shoot. So maybe the lesson out of all of this is that athleticism is great for highlight reels when you're young, but for a long, prosperous career where you're impactful, if you can't shoot, it's just not going to happen.
I think as some of our pods go along, we sort of start off like, oh, what exactly are we trying to say here? And then as we sort of put the conversation on the table, it sort of forms what we're trying to actually talk about. And I think, um, you know, I think you think about like Lonzo Ball. Yeah, Lonzo Ball was the second pick, and right now his career is probably somewhat in jeopardy. Right now we're probably wondering he's going to come back. And I guess to frame it here, like you said, not every player comes back from a severe injury. Okay, to be even 50% or 80% of what they used to be. And I think that's a huge thing to just sometimes consider. Like if you just think back, not that many years ago, Lonzo Ball was slinging every single pass that you sort of thought, oh wow, like this kid is going to have a long career, and he's the next. I don't know, Steve Nash or Magic Johnson was in when he was at Lakers, right? There was all that hype around him and stuff like that, and it just didn't pan out. It hasn't panned out for him, and may never pan out for him. All right, at this point. And I think that's that one part of this whole conversation. And the second part here, I guess, is that I was thinking this as you're sort of talking about some of these other names. Like ultimately, I don't know about you. It's probably an opinion here. I know you've had a few severe injuries yourself as a basketball player. Like, would you rather have a career like D Rose, where obviously we've gone to almost the highest of highs there, and obviously, you got that MVP and everything like that, but your career really got shortcut, or cut in half in a sense, okay? Or would you rather be like a Mike Conley, that obviously has been around for all these years and has been solid, but hasn't been that spectacular. But he's still going. I don't know. What do you reckon?
Well, it's like a hypothetical of, do you want a really good 2 to 3 years, or do you want an average like 10 to 12? Right. So, you look at it and say, D Rose gets a lot of what ifs, right? And we don't like realistically, D Rose was starting to get a little bit of the criticism that was warranted, as in D Rose can't shoot. And until he figures out how to shoot, he's not going to be a great player. And Chicago can't get over the hump because in the playoffs, people are going to pack the paint, figure him out defensively. That narrative was starting, but it instantly seized because he got injured, right? So he kind of gets bailed out. Grant Hill, we hear about Grant Hill being the next Michael Jordan, but he would have had some flaws in his game. He hadn't really proven much in the playoffs. And it's the ankle surgeries that dominate that narrative, right? So when players get injured who are really, really great before they start to do anything, we get to then chuck on the label of, well, what if they never got injured, right? And the difference is players who stick around long enough and never get injured, they essentially did their resume. They showed us what they were going to do. So Derrick Rose, when he was on the Bulls and right before he got injured, actually would have had to have faced the Miami Heat for the next 3 to 4 years, right? And then obviously, if he kept it going into 2015-16, then faces the Cavs, assuming that timeline plays out
It's
exactly the
got the
same.
Celtics trio as well, I think,
And
at
the
that time.
Celtics trio as well, still there. And then you even had that weird Brooklyn team briefly that was built, and even the Knicks team, you know, they still had teams to go through. And eventually, the more data you get on players, you figure out, okay, Derrick Rose, it's random assessments, but maybe if you force him left and you have a double come, he has to pull up and he actually can't shoot that shot. Eventually, teams will figure you out defensively, and he never really proved to shoot better. He's obviously a bit better of a shooter now, but there's not a lot of lift on that jump shot. So there's those aspects of the what if, but we never have to indulge in that conversation because he got injured right at the peak of it. So if Ja Morant got injured right now, we then say, Memphis, what if Ja Morant never gets hurt? And that's it for a long extended period of time. But the difference, hopefully, is he's going to demonstrate what his career is over the next 5, 6 years, and we're going to see, did he ever piece it together? Did he ever end up getting a jump shot or getting the team over the hump? And I think that's the parallel that you're kind of referencing here is that, you know, it it's kind of like a scale, right? So it's like a potential scale of if you are young in your NBA career and you get injured, your potential scale is really unknown. But obviously, if you get injured at 30 or 32, then we kind of knew what you were by that point, and we kind of accept, like, okay, like, you had your chance to prove it and you missed out. Hopefully, you get one at the end. That's kind of how it gets framed for them.
Yo, this is Two Guys with Spare Time. I'm Faz, this is Nick. You're probably a basketball fan like us, so hopefully you can throw us an assist in giving our video a like and subscribing to our channel.
And if you got thoughts, feelings, or even some suggestions, please put them down in the comment section below. And thank you for using your spare time to watch us in our spare time.